Good morning. Here is today's word of blessings for you. 1 Chronicles 14:8-12. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over all Israel, they went up in full force to search for him, but David heard about it and went out to meet them. Now the Philistines had come and raided the Valley of Rephaim, so David inquired of God, "Shall I go and attack the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hands?" The Lord answered him, "Go, I will deliver them into your hands." So David and his men went up to Baal Perazim, and there he defeated them. He said, "As waters break out, God has broken out against my enemies by my hand." So that place was called Baal Perazim. The Philistines had abandoned their gods there, and David gave orders to burn them in the fire. Today's title is "Shall I Go?" People are very sensitive about their own position or status. In a way, it is good because we have to act appropriately according to the position or status we hold. The king and servant have different roles and responsibilities, but there is something that should never be changed even at the time our position has been changed. Your integrity and faithfulness do not need to be different. Your friendship with intimate friends does not need to be changed. Your humility before man and God do not need to be different at all. But we have seen so many people changed dramatically as their position or status changes. A great example from the Bible will be King Saul, who was the predecessor of David. He was such a humble man before he was anointed as a king. But he became a totally arrogant person after he became a king. He very often ignored the words of God to do things in his own ways. He became more sensitive to the reputation of the people than to the words of God. David was just the opposite of Saul. Even after he was enthroned as a king, he didn't seem to have been changed at all. He continued to be humble and faithful before God and man. His humility before God seems to have grown even deeper after he became a king. As his responsibility grows, his reliance on God gets deeper. In today's passage, we see such humble reliance of David upon God. He now is facing the first major battle with the Philistines after he became a king. David humbly inquired of God, "Shall I go and attack the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hands?" Even before David became a king, he was already the most famous war hero in Israel. People sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." He was a valiant and experienced warrior who knew ins and outs of the battlefield. But for David, the more he gets victories and glories from the war, the better he knew that battle belongs to the Lord. He asked and followed God's direction in childlike trust. What positions are you holding in your career? How confident are you in what you do and why? David certainly has a lot to tell you about it. Did you hear him?